may be turned back. The presidential aspirants were also instructed to leave their phones behind when coming for the dinner.
It must be a very sensitive meeting. And now, looking at the character of the First Lady, Aisha Mohammed Buhari, for over time, she's been someone that's been very vocal when it comes to issues of governance. I recall when this administration started, the First Lady was vocal about this administration being controlled by some sort of cabal and not her husband. I recall also when ministerial appointments were about to be made, Aisha Buhari she lended a voice. And for a long time, we've seen her quiet until when we had the issue of the constitutional amendments, which she actually was in present at the floor of the House to lend a voice and to, wage a support on the gender, some of the bills that were, specifically for women, specifically for the women. But then we didn't see those bills come through.
Well, unfortunately, we didn't see a lot of those bills come through, but that doesn't mean that what Aisha Buhari, the First Lady of Nigeria, had done was no significant feat. I mean, before the statement which brought what Nigerians would call the immediate silence of the wife of the president, where he said the place of the woman is in the kitchen and Zaure room, that made waves on the social media. We recall that Aisha Buhari was one of the most vocal first lady that we've had in the country, and she had lent a voice to critical issues as concerns the girl child. And unfortunately, in as much as the bills didn't come, we can say that to a large extent, judging from the reactions of the women who mobilized to protest the bills that were thrown out by the lawmakers, and then the subsequent fact that some of the bills were brought back for renegotiations, and I think one or two actually passed and made it to become a law. I would say that this meeting of the aspirants, political aspirants, which of course is not just within the party but across all boards, is going to be a very intensive one. It's going to be a platform where she hopes, I believe, if I'm permitted to anticipate, or Nigerians are permitted to anticipate, the mindset of the First Lady, which is to channel, possibly get to pick the minds of the different aspirants on what plan they have for the female gender within the Nigerian society.
Well, of course, when it comes to the female gender, Her Excellency, the First Lady of this country, is always very concerned about it, because at different forums, she has always been seen advocating for the rights of the women, which, of course, is under the purview of her office as the First Lady of the country. And Aisha Buhari, as a person, away from being gender sensitive, has always wanted to lend her voice on other national issues, especially when it comes to security, when it comes to appointment, and all of those things. One would wonder what the First Lady wants to discuss with all aspirants, the presidential aspirants across party boards, and does not want them to come with their cell phones. Perhaps there's some top secret, some information that she has at hand and would want to relate with them, perhaps maybe as to how to go about electioneering, or maybe when it comes to consensus decision, or maybe there are quite a whole number of angles that might come through at this point. But until that meeting is over and done with, we can never tell what
well, as far as high-profile meetings like this are concerned, when it comes to politics, when it comes to decision-making, when it comes to picking the minds of the movers and shakers of the political terrain, a lot of things is expected, a lot can be anticipated. And one of the reasons we oftentimes have security breaches basically because of the internet and the presence of phone. So I can, to a large extent, Nigerians to a large extent would understand why the First Lady would advise and direct that nobody comes in with a mobile phone. I mean, this is not the first time we've seen such situation. It's only that this time around we're seeing it publicly being announced that such shouldn't be done. But if you're aware and conversant with, like you are, with the way political meetings are being conducted, you know that at the entrance of the meeting ground, there is somebody there to, take away your phone. Your media aid is outside. And so at the end of the meeting, it is what the consensus agreement is what is being dished out to the different media aides who are present, and is in turn that is what they dish out to the larger society.
I believe the First Lady has an information she wants to pass across to this candidate or to this aspirant at the moment. Well, however, whatever they make of the information that they would get is what Nigerians are anticipating in the highest of the high. But moving away from that and talking about security issues, which has been one of the burning issues as far as Nigeria is concerned, with the multiple bomb blasts or train attacks and all these gunmen kidnaps going on around the country. A former governor, a former president of Nigeria, Olusegun Obasanjo, has said that it is time to establish state police to curtail the worsening insecurity problems in the country. Obasanjo stated this while receiving the leadership of the National Association of Ex-Local Government Chairmen in Nigeria, led by Pioneer National Chairman Honorable Albert Asipa. In a statement by Obasanjo's spokesperson Kehinde Akinyemi, the former Nigerian leader advised Muhammadu Buhari's government, saying community policing is not what is needed at the moment, but state policing. I recall after the two-time attack along the Abuja-Kaduna rail lines that there was an information released by the presidency that they will mobilize young men from each of those communities that the rail line passes through to be in check as a form of community policing to ensure the safety of the rail lines. But however, former President Olusegun Obasanjo seemed not to agree with that.
Well, it's not just the opinion of former President Olusegun Obasanjo. I think at this point what former leader is coming out to do is re-echo and re-emphasize on what different state governors have already before now begun to agitate for. I mean, we've seen different situations of police actions, and then we've seen, like we recall the issue in Lagos State where we had the police disrespect the governor of the state based on higher authorities, as you would say, which provoked an outcry from the Nigerian people. And we've had issues where Nigerians are agitating and saying we have a federal government police and not a police that is the Nigerian police, as is the name that is carried. So state policing has been an issue that a lot of government have advocated for, a lot of Nigerians have advocated for, and that is something that would significantly help when it comes to security. I recall growing up, my mother used to say that one of the best ways to protect the immediate environment is to use the people within the environment who know the nook and crannies of the environment. So if you know the nook and crannies of the environment and a criminal comes into that environment, there is no way a criminal can escape, because you already know if the criminal enters lane A, you know where lane A leads to and where the criminal is definitely bound to pop up from. So you can reposition and re-strategize and be able to get to arrest the criminal before harms are done. And then away from that, you understand that for criminal minds who live in a particular community, a policeman who is also within that community, based on his professional training, will be able to decipher who is a sane person, who is not a criminal element, and who is a criminal element. And so we will get to a policing system where the Nigerian police force or the police force is able to preempt and take proactive measures to curtail crimes and other criminal activities from actually happening because of the exposure, because of the information, because of what they will be exposed to seeing, living in the same environment, in the same community with these elements.
Francis, frankly, I would say at this point that the benefit of state policing cannot be overemphasized, because looking at the terrain, perhaps someone who grew up here in Akwa Ibom State is being employed under the state government's employment scheme as a state police officer. You would understand that growing up here, you will know virtually all the people that grew up here with you. You will know those that had family history of criminality. You will know those ones that are innocent. Perhaps it will help to also solve issues of arrest of innocent citizens in the name of crime. And then you look at the strategic plans, apart from knowing the nooks and corners of the states, to be able to carve other niche to try to halt criminals from escaping justice. To a large extent, it will also dig deep into record keeping. It will dig deep into many other aspects of security issues that we are facing, because you will not need someone who does not understand the terrain of Akwa Ibom to come here and try to catch a criminal that might possibly escape to a certain den that you know too well that these are some of the whole hideouts that they might possibly be. And it's about time the president adhered to this, because it will be a plus to this administration, among other achievements that President Muhammadu Buhari's administration have been able to accomplish. from the Not Too Young to Run bill that he signed to the Electoral Act Amendment bill that he signed, this would be another big achievement, a big blueprint for this administration if it comes true.
Well, if the President Muhammadu Buhari's administration gets to listen to the polls of the Nigerian Governors Forum, to the polls of former President Olusegun Obasanjo, to the polls of most Nigerians who are agitating for state police at this point in time, and then actually go to enact laws or ensure delegations are put in place, policies are put in place, laws are put in place to ensure the creation of state policing in terms of financing, in terms of establishment, in terms of modalities and all other aspects of the policing system put in place. And then provincial insecurity is being checked. That would be like the biggest achievement of the present administration, because they came to power promising to end insecurity in Nigeria. And so being able to fulfill that particular campaign promise will significantly boost the morale of the party. And of course, the people can, to a large extent, have confidence in them.
Absolutely. And moving away from that, River State Governor Yeson Wike has told delegates of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, in Taraba State that he scores the party's ticket and wins the election, he will take the war to bandits. He says that the one problem that our People's Democratic Party government, under if elected, must solve is to bring down the level of insecurity in the country. Otherwise, there is no way the economy can grow. And I quote, he said, "When bandits hear my name, they will run because I will take the word to them. I will be the commander-in-chief in action." Well, is he trying to shed? I know some people will look at this as a shed on the president, or as a shed on, the president, the sitting president not taking the fight to the people. And you could draw inspiration from what happened in Rivers State during the suit. He practically went through all the illegal bunkering site himself. You know, these places are way down inside the bushes, and it took the time to go through inspecting all of them. It has always been his point of view that a sitting leader, a president, must be able to inspect sites of where issues are happening to be able to have first-hand information on those things.
You know, it's one thing for something to happen for within your community, within your jurisdiction, within the community where you are in charge of, and you are able to go down to the people and meet with them and interact with them and connect with them at the point of their the situations they find themselves. Is another thing for you to sit in your high exalted office position and speak to them. Those two scenarios create a different connection line. It creates a different impact. Now, I understand where Wike is coming from. If you recall the time where Nigeria and Chad and other surrounding nations had to partner and collaborate to fight ISWAP and Boko Haram, you had, I think, the president of Chad coming out himself to join the military in the attack, in the offensive that was launched on the terrorist group. And that was significantly something that boosted the morale of the military personnel to actually see that the #1 citizen of the land came out to be part of the war. And that shows his commitment, that showed he was dedicated, that showed he wanted something to be done. Because you can sit in the office and delegate, like the president has asked all of the security personnel to collaborate in a concerted effort to ensure that, you know, they rescue those persons who have been abducted. We've seen this statement being issued consistently on a daily basis, on a regular basis, and little or nothing seems to be done about it. So if you have a sitting president who takes the war to the bandits in all ramifications, by all means, I think the bandits are going to know that they have no hiding place in Nigeria, and there'll be two things that is bound to happen: is either they make a way or they find a way out of Nigeria, or they get destroyed. So that is something that, I mean, that is something that will completely change the atmosphere, that will completely, you know, turn things around for the Nigerian military and other military agencies.
We live in a very interesting country, Francis. Interesting in the sense that the president you started a case scenario where the Chad president actually joined the armed forces to, you know, show moral support, to encourage them, and you said it boosted their ego. And this is Nigeria, where the president will put a call across to the super egos of Nigeria and try to motivate them to win. And yes, they lose at the end of the day, and the president is being blamed for it. And you see cartoons on social media saying avoid calls from the president. Now, what would you say if perhaps the president went there? And of course, you know, the president was there at the last match that the Super Eagles of Nigeria played, the qualifiers for the World Cup. But you saw what happened. How would you want the president to act in that regard?
Well, before you get to judge that from the Nigerian's point of view, you would understand that the president had taken some decision, has made some pronouncement that Nigerians didn't see come to light. So when Nigerians trace the fact that, you know, you've made XYZ statement and is aligned with failure, tendencies are that they would align the next action that comes or the next reaction that comes to the past existence. But when your statements and your actions are consistently positive, then something happens that goes in a negative way. The Nigerians, the same Nigerians who would attack you for the former situation, will shift the blame away from the president to the people responsible. So let's say, for instance, we've had, like it's happening in Ukraine, you've had Ukraine President Volodymyr Zelensky joining in the battlefront and being there with the soldiers, which is boosting the morals of the soldiers. Now, let's say, for instance, the president joins in the fight, and then the army, for some reason, are not able to conquer in the battle. Nigerians would commend the president, Nigerians would praise the president, and the blame would shift from the president to the army, to the security agencies. So that is the typical situation that is going to play out. But then, before a president actually takes that step, then the president would have made sure, or should have made sure, or it is expected that the president will ensure that adequate equipment in terms of ammunition, in terms of military hardware and softwares that are needed to effectively fight and win the fight would have been provided for the security agencies before moving to join the fight. So his moving to join the fight will be like the last straw that emboldens the Nigerian military forces or the Nigerian security forces, the last part of inspiration that engenders, that encourages them and brings out that warrior spirit that is already in them. You know, if you trace back, let's go back to the antics within the Nigerian movie system or the ancient cultural system where you had the lead warrior in a community and other warriors. It is one thing to have other warriors go to battle, but when the lead warrior himself leads the battle, it becomes an entirely different scenario.
The lead warrior, by that, I suppose you mean the generals in the army. The lead warrior cannot be the president. Yes, he will be there to motivate, but in that context, you're saying the lead warrior cannot be because he will not actually be there at the forefront. But yes, some cases that you might have the president, be at the moving point when the soldiers are about to, move to the battleground, and they give them the encouragement and assures them the safety of their family. One thing is that when a country is in battles, the president should be able to assure them that yes, put in your best, you are safe, whatever you left behind will be fully taken care of. Those are some assurances that are very necessary at some point to boost the morals of the warriors, because take it or leave it, if a man is worried in battle, concentration lacks, and when it comes to battlefront, I may not be an expert in that field, but trust me, if you're not concentrating at that point, the enemy might just get at you.
Well, on the battlefront is either killed or be killed. And as far as the Nigerian system, or in fact any military system is concerned, if you do not boost the morale of the personnel, you're not going to get result. And in recent times, we've seen the Chief of Army Staff come out to say that one of the military's priority right now is to ensure that the personnel are well taken care of, from the barracks accommodation to their welfare package to how they are being treated all around. And that is something that would boost the morale of the Nigerian security forces. And so if that is being taken care of, the last lap is the president. You don't necessarily need to go to the war front where the guns are blazing and the bombs are, exploding all around you for us to know that, okay, you have taken the fight to the insurgents. All you need to do is be at the strategic camps occasionally, and speak directly. Let those people, the persons who are willing to lay down their lives for the community, for the country, get to hear first-hand information directly from the father, from the commander-in-chief of the armed forces,
I think it's
and then walk away from that.
I think it's more than hearing those words. I think it's more of a commitment towards pushing through, because Nigeria has had a bad record of keeping through the promises. And we celebrate Armed Forces Remembrance Day, yet we see widows of these heroes past, lavished away in penury, their children drop out of school. Now, there is no motivation as to why a soldier should put in his or her best in trying to defend the nation's security. Well, but quite frankly, it is a good recommendation, and perhaps it is time that President Muhammadu Buhari, gives more attention to the issue of state policing, if truly we must actually have a win on the insecurity we are experiencing in Nigeria?
Well, definitely we expect a positive response from the president at this time. And talking about the security personnel, it's not just the women, their wives and their children who are suffering. We've seen situations where former security personnel from the different security agencies who have retired are coming to say, we have not been paid our entitlement, we are suffering, and all of that. So when the welfare package is put right and the president comes out to show a renewed commitment and restates the federal government's commitment to ensuring that they're going to be well taken care of, and their families as well, we're going to have a more secure environment. But then the governor of Borno State, Professor Zulum, is running for re-election in Borno State unopposed. He is a consensus candidate both for APC and PDP. Now, this is something that has not happened in a long while. Wow. This is the hallmark of good governance. Now, wow. Borno State.
Interesting. When you talk about hallmark, it is a hallmark of a good governance, and that is where a lot of Nigerians are concerned about. Look at what is happening in Borno State. We've heard so much about the performance of Governor Zulum, and he has been rated as one of the best governor in Nigeria. And Francis, Governor Zulum has established a lot of projects. He has about 120 projects commissioned within 100 days in office. Now, who does that? We have yet to see someone beat that track record. And about 556 capital projects delivered by Borno State Governor Professor Babangana Umar Zulum in just a period of 2 years. Now, interesting.
That is a governor, that's a leader who is committed, that is a leader who is focused, that is a leader who has the interests of his community at heart, that is a leader who knows that he was voted to serve the people and has taken that mantle of leadership as a sacred obligation, as a sacred duty to deliver on the dividends of democracy. That is a leader who has chosen to go past party politics, to grow past party lines, party interests, to accommodate everybody in the state. Because like we've said, we wouldn't have the PDP and the APC coming together to endorse one particular person, regardless of the fact that he is not of their fault. So when you have, this goes back to the issues that Nigerians have always said, when you have a performing leader, you take the attentions of the people away from what party is failing and what party is not failing. So if we have more of such leaders coming out from the different parties, I think in no time we might be having Nigerians praise the individuals and of course exonerate the individual as well, and then move the blames away from the party.
Well, Francis, there are some comments to this. A lot of persons have been able to, felicitate with this governor. I mean, it's something out of this world. It's a record-breaking event to see that parties, different political parties, can come to a single consensus of one person going unopposed for the governorship position of a particular state, and in this time, Borno State. This is one state that was attacked back-to-back by Boko Haram way back in 2011, 2012, 2015. We could see bomb blasts, and this particular state needed reconstruction. And that is not all. He has undergone about 67 capital projects in a span of 1 year. And when you talk about capital, look at them. How much are they getting as an allocation in the first place? This is a show of preparedness. He actually knew the task ahead. He had strategic plans to achieve this, and not leaving out the fact that he's an agricultural engineer, not an architect, but he has been able to perform creditably well to a percentage where if at least 80% of the populace say you're doing well, that means you're doing well.
Well, leadership is not mainly about what you studied in school. In fact, it has absolutely nothing to do with what you studied. You can have an absolute illiterate be a very good leader and have a well-educated person not be able to lead a people or lead even a class of people. Wow. So leadership for me and for a lot of Nigerians at this point is basically not about the level of qualifications that you have, in as much as we understand that it is very important that you get educated, as that exposes you to a lot of things. But then I think Zulum has given us a demonstration. He has given us a legacy as a Nigerian people. He has given the people of his state, Borno State, a legacy to look back for. And he has created a niche for himself and created a platform where years from now, persons will still get to, trace back the history, trace back the development, trace back the infrastructural, overload, if I'm permitted to use that word, to the government of his administration, and that to a large extent would improve on the quality of life of the people. And then talking about Governor Zulum, he has also taken agriculture very seriously, as food sufficiency in his state is one of his key issues that he is tackling. So when you put all of those things together, there is infrastructural development, there is food security in the target, and then there is job creation in the pipeline and the processes. Everything just gets to create that beautiful environment that you have. People come to say, yes, we can see that he has done it, and if we give him a more opportunity, if we give him more years, he's going to do more, and that of course is to the betterment of everybody.
Of course, let's take a look at some comments judging coming from this development as he emerges as the consensus candidate of all political parties to run unopposed for the governorship position in Borno State. A lot of reactions has trailed this development, and some persons have congratulated him in the masses. And yeah, we'd like to take a look at some of those comments now. We'll be able to bring up those comments before the end of the show, but quickly moving ahead, the People's Democratic Party, PDP, in Akwa Ibom State has stated that the next governor of the state must be one that will build on the legacies of Governor Udom Emmanuel and ensure sustainability in the development blueprint of Akwa Ibom State, with providing solutions to the common problems of the people. Of course, this was spoken through the state chairman of the party, Right Honorable Elder Anyeka Nakman, yesterday. The party lauded the PDP-produced administration of Governor Udom Emmanuel has performed outstandingly well and will be leaving a legacy of excellence which must be built upon by his successor. PDP as a party believes in continuity, and we stand for that. Since 1999, we have produced successful administration, and one thing is certain, that there is element of continuity in development. And the quote continues, anybody that emerges the gubernatorial candidate of the People's Democratic Party will definitely become the governor. There isn't doubt about that, but there must be continuity, the chairman stated. Well, one thing for me, that anybody that emerges as a candidate of the People's Democratic Party is a short ticket, a short vehicle, a sure,
guaranteed.
A guarantee for the office of the governor in 2023.
Well, at this point,
what
one would say, one would say, what boldness! You took that right off my mind. One would say, what boldness! Is as if there is no other party in Akwa Ibom State.
Oh, well.
And I think this possibly is another call on the APC to put its house in order if they intend to show a big, strong opposition within the state.
Yes, as far as the People's Democratic Party is concerned, there's no other party in the state. They've always maintained that position as the only party in Akwa Ibom State. And to them, PDP is a religion. Everybody worships PDP. PDP is a language, PDP is a code, PDP is a religion. It is like that in the public space, and I don't know how the other political parties are taking that.
Well, it's not about the statement that has been dished out by the People's Democratic Party, and it's not also about how they take the different parties from APC to APGA to the rest of the parties that we have within our Akwa Ibom state system. It's about the actions that they are going to take. It's about the actions that they are willing to take. It's about creating that enabling environment that will give them the competitive advantage over PDP. And so far, we are not seeing those things done. I mean, when you have a party like the APC within Akwa Ibom, say that you are having internal rancor, you're having dissenting opinions and dissenting views and interests, and you're having disgruntled elements within the party that have not been able to unite even at this hour, then you would expect that you further give the PDP more boldness to speak up their mind and tell you this is what is going to happen. And chances are that might just happen because the other parties are not doing what they should do as opposition parties. But then talking about a governor that is coming up from the PDP or whoever emerges as being the one that it should continue with the present administration's agenda. We're talking about persons who are going to solve the unemployment problems. We're talking about somebody who's going to revitalize the economy. We're talking about somebody who's going to improve on the infrastructural development in the state. You're talking about somebody who's going to maintain the security status quo or even improve upon it and make it better than it already is. And all of these boils down to the one individual that is going to emerge. I love the fact that they have used the term anybody without actually mentioning a person in specific terms that, okay, this is a person who is going to emerge. I think at this point that to a large extent would boost the morale of Akwa Ibomites to say that in as much as we've had the governor's preferred choice within the PDP, that we are also having a party open its mind to other aspirants within the PDP who are also vying for the same position.
Well, the information in public space is that it's only the People's Democratic Party that can defeat the People's Democratic Party in Akwa Ibom State. And then with that being said, you have mentioned someone who would, you say someone who would revitalize the economy, someone who would, consolidate, okay, not consolidate, someone will build upon the infrastructure that we already have. Now, to a large extent, the People's Democratic Party believes that Governor Dom Emmanuel has done exceedingly well on that aspect. So the key word they're looking out for is someone who would continue on those legacies, someone who would maintain those legacies, someone who might build upon those legacies. Now, whoever emerges, like you have said, they have promised at different forums that they are going to give a level playing ground for every aspirant, and that regardless of the governor's position, regardless of the governor's preferred aspirants, every other person aspiring for the governorship position come 2023 would be given an equal playing field. Now, that is subjective to different interpretations from different quarters according to different individuals' perception. Now, quite frankly, we understand that this is going to be a battle between delegates, which will inform our focus for the next part of this conversation. But yes, who controls the party structure? That is one aspect you need to understand. Who is the political leader of the People's Democratic Party? When you look at who controls the party structure, you will understand who might possibly control the delegate list. You would understand how well the level playing ground might go to a large extent to benefit a lot of people. Now, we have seen a lot of names come in. We've had the likes of, the first person, which, of course, the governor named as his preferred choice, Pastor Umoino. We've had Senator Basi Albert. We've had the likes of Akan Dofia. We've had the likes of Akan Okun. And all those names there, they have been in some of them have been in the party for a long time. They started right from the grassroots. Others have not been. Others are just new entrants, like the likes of the business mogul. How well would such a person do? Are the delegates going to be sincere to their conscience? How will the delegates be picked across party board? These are sensitive issues that has to be streamlined by the People's Democratic Party to be able to, add credence to the statements that they will provide a level playing ground for all aspirants.
Well, at this point in time, there are a lot of issues that you're going to look at as Akwa Ibomites are looking at. You're talking about sustainability, you're talking about continuity in whoever takes over the leadership of Akwa Ibom State, and you are talking about creating a level playing ground. But we know in politics, if we have to be honest and sincere with ourselves, that there is actually no such thing as a level playing ground in politics when you have to talk about godfatherism, when you have to talk about preferred candidates, when you have to talk about party structures, when you have to talk about other issues within the political terrain. But then some Akwa Ibomites at this point will be very particular about the fact that the PDP, for instance, has always dwelled on the fact that people who have contributed significantly to the advancement of the party needs to be rewarded. And then you recall, taking our minds back to the year 2015, when we had Senator Basi Albert, for instance, who also wanted the office of the governor of the state, but had to step aside for the present governor, Udom Emmanuel, to come into power. I recall seeing information where Governor Emmanuel then, as an aspirant, and Senator Albert, joining in a collaborative effort where the governor came out to say Basi Albert's persons and noun his person, his team and noun Bassey Albert's team, so a collaboration of that team. And I want to believe, Akwa Ibomite believe that before that collaboration was done, there was some level of you know, understanding between the governor and Bassey Albert. There was some level of reward system that was created in place for that to have happened. Now, fast forward into the year 2022 that we're talking about, who is going to take over the next mantle of leadership. Within the PDP, for instance, we've had dissenting views saying, if we were to look at the person that is most, credible, someone who has significantly contributed to even the president's administration success story, regardless of the recent, political rancors and political dissenting views within the two factions, significantly deserves to be given the right and deserves the support of the party. So at this point, you're talking about continuity, you're talking about the historical background of the different political aspirants. Okay, so Akwa Ibomite will ask, who is Pastor Umoino? In the last 8 years, where has he been? In the last 16 years, where has he been politically? What has he contributed significantly to the politics of Akwa Ibom State? What has he contributed to the economy of Akwa Ibom State? What has he done to the teeming youths of Akwa Ibom State? What has been his contribution before he suffers into the political space through a political appointment? You move away from that, you talk about the president of Bassey Albert, and of course a lot of Akwa Ibomites will always trace his antecedents and the historical things that he has been able to do within the party and outside the party and for the larger society. You move away from that to the likes of Ide Owodion, who has always also been in politics and also significantly has contributed to the development of the PDP in Akwa Ibom State. And then you move away from that to Onofia Luke, who is one of the amazing personalities that we have around here. And of course, that is judging from his time back as the Speaker of the House of Representatives in Akwa Ibom State and the different legislations that were made as a result of that. You move away from him to Akan Odofia, the businessman who is rumored to have employed lots of Akwa Ibom citizens through his personal private business, just like Pastor Umoino has done through his different branch of businesses. So all of these things are things that Akwa Ibom are going to look at to look at the popularity, look at the investment, and look at the heart that those people have. So at some point in time, we would have to consider all of these things as Akwa Ibom, as delegates within the PDP get to choose who they give the mantle of leadership.
Francis, as far as all those analogies hold water massive, they hold it very firmly. But you would agree with me to a very large extent that as far as politics is concerned, there is no permanent friend, there is no permanent enemy, but there's only a permanent interest. With that in view, and also understanding the fact that party is supreme, you would understand that whatever agreement was made prior now is subjected to party renegotiation. It is always the case. Promises are always made. Promises are always broken. That has always been the case in political structures or in politicking as a whole, especially in Nigeria. So that being the case, what I'm typical about is the fact that we're looking at the stage that Akwa Ibom State is at the moment. What should go on in every mind, in every individual's consciousness should be, where do we want Akwa Ibom State to be in the next 4 years? Now, having that in mind would inform you, amongst these persons that have indicated interest to run for the position of the governor come 2023, first thing should be who is best fitting. Regardless of the governor's preferred aspirant, who is best fitting for the job? What should be the next move for Akwa Ibom State? You will want to start by former Governor Victor Otta's administration. That administration was known for master planning. That administration actually gave a master plan of a model of what Akwa Ibom State should be. And looking at Akwa Ibom way back as at that time, we did not have the financial capability to push Akwa Ibom forward to where it should be. And that administration fought for resource control, fought for the money, an increase in the state's allocation, which actually was enjoyed by the next administration, that's by former Governor Godswill Obotokpabio. That governor's Akpabio's regime was marked and characterized by uncommon infrastructural developments that we have yet to see in Akwa Ibom State. That gave Akwa Ibom a different face. It opened Akwa Ibom up to the space of the world map and became a point of reference as far as Nigeria is concerned. At that time, just like Governor Zulum is enjoying a lot of goodwill from Nigerians, Akwa Ibom was in that space some years back. We were talking about massive development, and then he practically, brought in a successor who he believed will consolidate upon his legacies. And of course, Governor Dom Emmanuel has been seen doing such, because we've seen expansion of roads, we've seen and all of those ones. Then we're talking about Akwa Ibom being named at this point as the most state suffering unemployment. That is the case. So if we want to talk about the future of Akwa Ibom State, it is one thing to have all these facilities there. It is okay to have all the infrastructural development. If there are no jobs, chances are that those public facilities will be vandalized. So it is important at this point for a state to come up and say, yes, we have had all this. Can we work on human capacity development? Can we work on creating jobs? Can we work on maybe pushing individuals, improving the livelihood of Akwa Ibomites? Because we have always heard slangs like Abiyon Aba and all those stories within the state. And we've had teeming youths from this state trip out to Lagos to fend for themselves because they believe that is where they will get opportunity. And this is where we want to be an industrial hub. Amongst all these aspirants, the information at the public space, what everybody should be looking out for is who is best fitting to deliver this task ahead.
Indeed, that is what Akwa Ibomites are looking for. And now anybody who has been in Akwa Ibom, anybody who has been able to critically look at the Akwa Ibom story, look at the Akwa Ibom situation, such a person will know that Akwa Ibom is one of the most blessed states in Nigeria. If you talk about tourism, we have a multitude of tourism sites that, if invested in and effectively utilized and managed, you can, a tourism site like Hibonor Beach, for instance, is capable of generating enough jobs to take more than half of the unemployed youths within Akwa Ibom and outside Akwa Ibom into job creation and put food on their table. You talk about Ibaka Deep Seaport, for instance, when completed, such project has the capability to completely transform the economy of the state. You move away from that, you talk about agriculture. That is one of the areas that we are lacking behind in Akwa Ibom State. If you drive around Akwa Ibom State, even within the city of you would see a lot of land lying waste without anything being done about it. So anybody who is coming up to take up the mantle of leadership in Akwa Ibom State, Akwa Ibomites at this point should be a person who is business conscious, should be a person who is capable of drawing investment to the state, should be a person who has the political will, the person who has been able to feel the impulse, the pulse of the common man in Akwa Ibom State, not one who is going to sit in a high exalted office position and dish out policies that are not friendly. If you look at the Akwa Ibom environment, and if you've been able to interact with business, you know that one of the biggest problems we have in Akwa Ibom State is not the fact that we don't have youths who are inventive, who are innovative, who are productive. It's not that we don't have youths who have skills or sellable skills or marketable skills, but rather we have a problem where skills are learned, skills are honed, skills are mastered, but we do not have the platform, we do not have a structure put in place to encourage advancements of those skills. We do not have a platform put in place to encourage these young persons to start up their businesses. We do not have proper business policies that would encourage startups to grow sustainably to become lasting businesses. So we need a leader in Akwa Ibom who will be able to look at those critical areas and then proffer solutions to those problems critically.
In as much as that is so, I think at this point, Akwa Ibomites should be very intelligent in their decision. It is not enough to be an entrepreneur, someone who has been successful in your dealings as a private individual, because it is okay at this point to make promises. A lot of people would come up and make promises. Another virtue, another angle everybody should watch out for these aspirants, especially for the delegates who are going to be there, to bring out the one person that will fly the flag of every political party. I think they should also consider the trustworthiness of individuals. Someone you could know that if this person says X, Y, Z,
that person would not turn around tomorrow and say it was ABC because they sound alike.
Now that is a problem I was talking about.
Credibility. Street credibility is very important at this point. Someone who understands the pulse of every individual. A lot of times, we've always talked about being citizens. When you talk about qualifications for aspiring for a particular position, you have to be a citizen here. You have to, have some sort of qualifications. Yes. I think it's about time street credibility comes in, because someone who has lived in the space and really does not understand the runnings, like we are advocating for, Nigerians are advocating for state policing. That's to a large extent is someone who understands the routine and the nitty-gritty of a particular environment. Likewise, in the political scenes, people who are vying for a leadership position, it should also be someone who has lived among the people and understands the workings and the rudiments and where it pinches the people. Without that, you will not really be able to feel the pulse of the people, to work or make policies that would touch the people individually and not just wait for people to hang around you. So those are issues, critical issues, that should be looked at this time.
Well, you've talked about street credibility as being one of the things that Akwa Ibomites, indeed Nigerians, should look out for. That takes me back to the historical background and the personalities of the different persons within the APC, within the PDP, who are vying for the position of the governor of the state. Now, in time past, we've had these different political leaders, these different masters and captains of industries, these different personalities issue statements either within their business organizations or in the public space through some of them who have NGOs and all of that. Now, at this point in time, the scorecard is already in the open because you have issued the statement and people will be able to trace. In so and so year, you made statement. We are gradually getting to a point where we are going to see videos of things people have said years ago surface on the internet. And then persons will be like, were you able to actually fulfill that? And you come to tell Akwa Ibomites you did, and Akwa Ibomites will give you proof that you have not over time. So we are getting to that point where we have electorates who are more aware, electorates who are no longer just looking for peanuts, like a video I saw, I think that was from you yesterday, of a person advising us to not look at the present gain that we're going to make from political participation. I recall the late Ubon Kings, who used to say that one of the ways that Nigerian system will only develop, is by growing past the situation of getting 2,000, 3,000, 5,000, or whatever amount of peanut it is that you are being given to sell your PVC, to vote in somebody you know very well at the back of your mind is not competent enough, is not capable enough, does not have the heart to deliver to the people what they need for their advancement as a collective society. And then just because you have a hunger problem for the time being that requires 50,000, whatever money to take care of, you're given that and then you sell your PVC. Guess what? 1 year down the line, when the person is voted into office, he has already paid you what was meant to be yours. He has already given you your dividend of democracy through the peanut that you had collected and sell your vote. So it is very critical that we, at this point in time, look past the present gain and go to the future gain that is going to accrue to Akwa Ibomites as a people. And that would mean a leader who would take deliberate decisions to invest in our economy, to create jobs, to build infrastructure, to expand. A lot of persons are saying right now, Uyo is the next Lagos. And if you look at the trends of things, from the entertainment industry to the agricultural industry to the different businesses that are coming into town, you would know that in no distant time, Uyo will be overcrowded. So we need a leader who will be able to expand the surrounding environments and communities in Uyo for people to work and live in.
Well, interestingly, those are some of the bullet points that should be, as a matter of urgency, put into consideration and critically being looked into before the primaries come through by next month. And yes, that's what we wrap up on the updates. We'll take on a short breather. When we return, Political Spectrum continues. Please stay with us.
allowed by grossly abused. Our governors have to share police power with the president as stipulated by the Constitution. We do not have a federal government police force. We have the Nigerian police force, which shall be administered, organized, and supervised by the Nigerian police force.
No, my lord, I want to say something. I want to say something here. Perhaps it might also enlarge the scope of people who should be invited here for examination. My lord, if we cannot find those who literally murdered Abiola, who are those people who could be said to be the beneficiaries of the death of Abiola?
Rogers has linked you with some of the killings he did.
He never did.
He linked you with the attempted murder of Hebrew.
He did not.
My lord, the matters council is leading the evidence in our matters.
Is this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my lord, but we can't be talking about cases which are in court,
Is
my
this
lord.
an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my lord. These cases are in court, my lord. I'm just reminding your lordship.
My lord, sorry, my lord, I think I'll be in cross-examination.
Legally Speaking, a program that deals with legal issues and questions we face as citizens of this amazing country, Nigeria. Legally Speaking. Join us every
Friday from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m.
for Legally Speaking.
Okay, my name is Isaiah Udojunu. Concerning this ASU federal government issue, I don't really think ASU in a way is doing a very bad thing, because actually they need this agreement to be made by the federal government for, the teachers, the lecturers should be able to get their salaries and every other thing. So in a way, I would say that ASU somehow should be considered, but something should be done. They should have an agreement of a date that federal government is going to meet their need before they go back to school, or probably go back to school. And after that date, if the federal government fails to meet their need, they have to call back the strike.
My name is Inyume Cyril. Well, concerning the ASU strike, I don't think they are doing any bad thing, honestly. You would agree with me that as much as students are being kept in the house, lecturers themselves, they need this money to take care of their families. They have wives, they have children, they have different businesses they need to take care of. So if the federal government does not pay them, how do they meet up this physiological needs? It is very, very important. And then secondly, I would like to advise the students, my darlings, don't stay at home. Since we don't know when they are calling off the strike, go and learn a trade, go and learn a skill. Maybe fashion designing, it could be hairdressing, could be cobbling of shoes. It could just be anything, so that you don't waste your time staying at home and waiting for the federal government. It's even a plus for you. So by the time they are done with their different disagreement and agreement, you're going back equipped, you're going back more productive. Get a little machine and so while you're getting your money, and take care of yourself in school. That's all I have to say.
Hello, good morning. My name is Emmanuel Nieti, level 300 student in the University of Uyo. I want to say that this ongoing ASU strike really affects we students. Take for example, I got admission 2018. I'm supposed to graduate this year, but here I am, still in level 300. It doesn't really make sense for us, we students. Just like the Minister of Education for State have said, why is ASU going on strike when they will be paid later on when the strike is being called off? So you can see that it is we students that are suffering this. We want to get back to school as soon as possible. So we just wish in the coming days that ASU and federal government, they should be able to find a solution to this strike. Dr. Chris Ngige have said that strike is not the only option for ASU to be taken, which I agreed with him. So ASU should just please, for the sake of the students, pardon us, call off the strike, and let's go back to the classroom so that we can graduate on time, because time doesn't wait for anyone. Thank you.
I'm Prince Joseph Orok, a final year student. On this ASU issue, I would say ASU should please try and liaise with the government and the federal government. If there is any way they can at least try and reopen school, that students should go back to school. Like now, I'm in final year, and what's my position now? Because I don't really know. how long will it take for me to finish my clearance, my project clearance, and now go to service? It's something I sit back and think, because it's dragging me, kind of dragging me back. So I will plead with the federal government, please, if there is anything you can do to save us from this stress we are going through. Most of us are going out a day to learn trade. Yeah, it's good for us, but at the same time, let's just finish school and know that we finished what we started. We've finished that step, and now we are taking another step. Please, this is what I would tell to the federal government. Just try and help us, the students.
Nigerian police force, which is the only one allowed by grossly abused. Our governors have to share police powers with the president as stipulated by the constitution. We do not have a federal government police force. We have the Nigerian police force, which shall be administered, organized, and supervised by the Nigerian police force.
No, my lord, I want to say something. I want to say something here. Perhaps it might also enlarge the scope of people who should be invited here for examination. My lord, if we cannot find those who literally murdered Abiola, who are those people who could be said to be the beneficiaries of the death of Abiola?
Rogers has linked you with some of the killings he did.
He never did.
He linked you with the attempted murder of Hebrew.
He did not.
My lord, the matters council is leading the evidence in our matters.
Is this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my lord, but you can't be talking about cases which are in court.
Is this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my lord. These cases are in court, my lord. I'm just reminding your lordship.
My lord, sorry, my lord. I think I'll be in cross-examination.
Legally Speaking, a program that deals with legal issues and questions we face as citizens of this amazing country, Nigeria. Legally Speaking. Join us every
Friday from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m.
for Legally Speaking.
Welcome back. Yes, this is your political spectrum, reaching you live from the beautiful hills of Ibiakuran. And then we've been joined to the voice in this conversation on the second part, which of course would bother on the APC governorship aspirants and the delegate list. Of course, you understand that we're at the time that the primaries are just around the corner, which would happen in a few weeks. And then delegates are being, sought out at ward level and all of that. So the intrigues there is what would happen. We know that prior now the People's Democratic Party have issued a statement that they would have a level playing ground for all aspirants, regardless of whether or not you are the governor's preferred aspirant or not. But how that goes is something we would get to find out. And joining us here is a political affairs analyst. I'm talking about Mr. Pauline Tunta. Good morning and good to have you on the show.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Good morning. Thank you.
Okay. First off, what do you make of that statement, level playing ground?
Well, if you want to go by a semantic implication of the statements, it means objectivity, giving equal attention, equal opportunity to all the parties.
And politically speaking?
Politically speaking, I would say it's a way of calming down frayed nerves. It's a statement to make you relax. Let me do what I want to do. Relax.
Okay.
So, in politics is not a dirty game anyway. But when dirty people play politics, it becomes dirty. So, a level playing ground is supposed to mean a situation where equal opportunities, equal privileges, equal rights are given to contestants.
Okay, do you see that statement holding some fact? Do you see it being implemented just the way it is?
No, even here or in Nigeria?
In Nigeria, in Akwa Ibom?
Okay, you see, implementation of such depends largely on, one, the political culture, and of course, you know that political culture is influenced by certain factors, including the economy of a place, the social development of, you know, the community or whatever, and of course, the stage of evolution. So, if a statement like that is issued in maybe a developed society like London, like Britain, America, I'm not saying they don't work there, or they are so developed, but to some extent, they are far above where we are. So here, it is very difficult. It may not be possibly implemented in the next 50 years.
So going by your statement, there is no possibility of having the statement made by the PDP and of course other political parties being implemented in Akwa Ibom State.
Let's be real, that's not possible.
Okay, so now for a political aspirant who knows very well that this statement from his political party is just a mouth say, is just some comment to calm his nerves, what would you think would be the possible reactions for persons who seriously intend to grab and hold on to power?
Well, they have to, you know, political parties is played like it's a fraternal organization. You play by though the root is not there, you dance to the gallery, you become loyal, you dance to the tune of where the power tilts to. If we are playing a game now, and I know that you are defeating me or you are cheating me, and you have more resources than me, I cannot cheat you, you are more powerful than me. I may not have the capacity to react, even when I know that what we are doing is not proper. Depending on where we are, if I react now positively or negatively, if I challenge you now, where would I land? Where would it land me? What do I stand to gain by challenging you, by telling you the truth? That what we are saying is lies. What do I stand to gain? Would I get something positive or will it give me something negative? Where would this statement, where would this reaction place me? Will it add some advantages to my aspiration or will it jeopardize my aspiration and ambition completely? So most of them, they know. Not most, all of them know. They are the same game, they know that it's not possible. But they don't have to react. They have to be diplomatic just to get there.
Well, in the absence of statements or reactions from the political class as to whether or not the level playing ground promise is viable, what do you think would be the makeup of the delegate list for the upcoming primaries?
The delegate list, you know, I'm a journalist. Before I became a journalist, I was actively involved in party politics. I was a party officer. What we call delegate, let's take it, give me a few minutes to, you know, go back to the history of delegates. What you call delegates is a function of representative democracy, indirect democracy. It dates back to ancient Athens and Greece, where, you know, the city-states were demarcated by walls. After this city, a big wall would, you know, demarcate this from the other one. So there were no enough spaces where everybody would go, gather, and make decisions, you know, for the state. To this effect, certain people were selected from the community. You come, please represent your place. You come, represent your place. Let's sit down here and discuss matters that affect people. That is the picture of a bit of the origin of, I mean, if it's long, I left the schools many years ago, but I can still remember partly my elementary political science classes, you know. So delegates were supposed to be a group of, you call electoral college, a group of people selected or elected, whatever means, by the consent of the members of the party, to go there, vote for them, vote the candidate they want. You understand me?
Sure.
That was the purpose of the delegates. But today, the reverse is the case. The members of the party don't even know who is going to be their delegates. They are not even there when the lists are formed. let alone protecting these people, protecting their interest. The list of the delegates are formed by power seekers. You know, we have the apolitical, in a political setting, we have the apolitical, those who don't even, are not interested in politics. Apolitical. We have the political, those who are conscious. Politically, even if they are not politicians, they are politically conscious. They know what is happening. We have the power seekers, those who always want power. Then we have the powerful, those who are already powerful. So these delegate lists are formed long time even before they are, put to work. Formed by power seekers. What they do is they carefully and technically select those they know will do what they want them to do. Those they can think for. They will not want those who can think for themselves to make the list. They're not interested. I'm not referring to any particular party. I am not talking about APC or PDP, but generally that is what is happening. They both parties, that's what they do. They carefully select those they know they can think for. Come, even though in most cases they go to the village, pick a few of the guys they know they can hardly lay claim to comfort, meaningful comfort. Someone, your name is in the delegate, you'll be happy. Very, very happy. My name is in the delegate, I'm a delegate. I'm very happy to be a delegate. For one, they sell votes here. Sorry to say that's the truth. For one, during election, you get some money. That is where your mind runs to. That certainly during elections, as a delegate, certainly you make some money. So you feel favored. This guy has favored me to make me a delegate. I'm very happy. I'm a delegate. You brag, a delegate. So what they do now is they carefully select those names. Sometimes years even before the election. Keep this list. So, and they begin to, those who are politically technical, politically sensitive and tricky, let me say so, would continue to service these people. Once in a while, they'll do some what I would call calculated philanthropy, emergency philanthropy. Once in a while, they throw in one small peanuts for you, they befriend you, make you happy. Once in a while, if they know you don't have a job to do, you're not working, certainly you'll be hungry once in a while. They give you 10,000. Come to the village, they buy you drinks. Sometimes they buy you bicycle. You may not even know why they are doing this to you. Well, this guy is very humble. The guy is but he gives me bicycle, he has given me money, he bought drinks for me. He's servicing you, keeping you for use. It's personal use, not the party. And now they will claim, they will paint a picture that appears as if their interest is that of the party. They make you think that their personal interest is the interest of the party. They say party interest. The party wants this person. The party has selected this. Who is the party? Who made the decision? For what purpose? In whose interest? You were not there when the decision was made, rather. You were not there. You're not part of it. Why did they decide on this person? Why did they choose this person? And who would it benefit? So delegate list is is a game.
In view of all this, Mr. Paulinus, in view of all this, what are the chances of aspirants who might not have favors from key persons or who might not have support of key persons who are within the party, who are controlling the party structure?
Okay, yeah. Two things are involved. You see, let me start from this angle. You see, election, there are three fundamental factors in the electoral process. One, brown envelopes, not white or brown. Pregnant brown envelopes. Two, the security, brown envelope, security, and of course the umpires, the electoral umpires. If you are a contestant or an aspirant or whatever, and you don't seem to have support of the powers that be, who might have already gotten the so-called delegates, even before you aspired, the only chance you may have there is the brown, if you have the brown envelopes. Those envelopes we used to write letters when we were small. love letters, small brown envelope. Those days when there was no telephone, we used to write letters.
Okay.
Unfortunately, young students of these days don't know how to write letters because of phone, So if you have brown envelopes, if you don't have a grip of the lectorates, delegates, and you have the brown envelope, well, depending on what money cannot do, much money can do. Depending on the size of the envelope, you may be able to sail through a swim, wriggle your way out of the woods, depending on who constitutes the delegates. Then the third factor, the third and the most important factor, the most powerful is God factor. God factor. There is God factor in election. Something can happen. Election is like football. You can make a mistake within the, what do they call it, 18
bucks.
Mistakenly, and the penalty is shot against you. Something can happen. Something can come up. Something can happen. The most powerful person can fall sick a day before the election, or something happens to him and he gets destabilized. And what he was supposed to do this night, he fails to do that thing, and failing to do that thing this night cripples what should have been done the following day. And something unforeseen thing comes up.
Well, in view of that, where is the place of the Electoral Act? Because it actually stipulates the runnings of some modalities for runnings of these primaries.
What is the meaning of Electoral Act? It's law. And what is law? Who make the law? The law is very strong for the poor and very weak for the rich. The government that controls the state controls the law during the election. For instance, now, on election day, okay, for instance, we have traffic lights, red, yellow, and green. The traffic light shows red. If a KK man passes that red, what do you call this police? Yellow fever. They will beat him to coma. Get him there, beat him blue, black. Arrest him, get money from him after beating him. But if the governor is going to airport to take a leave at maybe Lagos, taking go and rest in Lagos or wherever, and they show the traffic light, will the governor stop? He will not stop. Why? Because he's the governor. Why should it be so? Nobody should be above the law. So what do you mean by Electoral Act? Electoral Act is only powerful and implementable, executable when it has to do with someone who is not in the ruling party in that state. Good. I'm not talking about Akwa Ibom, any state, every state. So Electoral Act is a law that were made by people up there, and even those who made the laws they will technically and critically understand the clauses and be very, very sure that this clause will not tie them in the process. So it's unfortunate that the laws in developing countries like ours are very weak for the poor. Sorry, for the strong, they are very, for the poor, they are very strong. For the rich.
Okay, so my next line of thought, like you've rightly mentioned, the issue of pregnant brown envelope and the fact that the law is very strong on the poor and very weak for the rich and the mighty. Now, in this particular era where we're talking about agitations for a better Nigeria, for a better Akwa Ibom, and everyone is asking for that particular leader who would be able to lead us out of this different multitude of problems that we have facing the society, what then is would you advise, how would you advise the delegates who are going to form the background for the emergence of these different political flag bearers of the different parties? Because in the words of the late Ubon King, if we continue to hold on to the peanuts that we get in exchange for our PVCs and our vote, then we should not have the liberty, do not have any right to ask for change. How would you advise such persons?
Okay, the delegates. My advice to the delegates.
Yes.
Right? Okay, well, it's just like telling a pastor, asking a pastor in a church, what would you advise your congregation about morals? These are the things he should say every day. These are the things he would keep on saying. And the same people would keep on committing sins, even right inside the church. I said earlier that political culture is influenced by economic factors. If I work I have a work where I am paid maybe 350,000, 400,000, 500,000, as the case may be. I have a comfortable home to live, I have a good car to drive, I marry a beautiful woman, control the basic needs I need. I can lay claim, I can lay hands on those basic things I need. It will be difficult for someone to call me on election day and give me 5,000. Say, bros, go and do this. I won't take 5,000. I will not take. Before I leave my house, to election, I ate well. If I feel like drinking, or sometimes I take some drinks, I take my drink in my house. I feel at home. Come out to election just to cast my vote and go back. And someone calls me, they say, please take 5,000, vote for this person. Would I take? I will not, because I have enough. It may not be enough. What I have is okay for me. So what I'm trying to say in essence is that I told you earlier that except those who are statutory, there are some big wigs, some influential masquerades within the the delegates list. There are some influential masquerades. Those ones they call the ad hoc and other, even the statutory, even the part starting from the party structure. In most cases, the powerful elements take time, critically select the type of people they would be able to use. They put them in the party exco. If you are very sound, very enlightened, very comfortable, you constitute a threat to be in the party exco, especially at the local government level, ward and local government level. It's a threat. Pick someone you can fire. Pick someone you can tell what to do and he will do it without question. Hey, don't talk to that man. He's not in our party. He's an enemy. Hey, don't work with this man. Don't eat with this. Don't give this one this. Don't work with him. Don't just associate. He's not a member of our party. You say, okay, sir, whatever you say, I'll do. Those are the kind of people they will put in the party exco. But if you are the title of yourself, why is he so now? Why? No, it's not good. It's my brother, even though he's in another party. No, you don't ask questions. So they carefully select people of that caliber, that cadre. Except in some rare cases. I'm not saying all are like that too. I wouldn't say that, of course, or not. There are some sound minds in the party structure, starting from the top to down. But in many cases, they carefully select people they can think for.
To represent. So now, what is the hope of the common man? Because from your analysis, it can be assumed that these political leaders, these politicians who go ahead to lead us, have intentionally refused to put in place the modalities such as jobs that would ensure that the electorates are independent on their own and able to take care of responsibility, so as to keep them perpetually enslaved to ensure that they are able to, secure what they want. So how can the common man now break free from the bondage of staying down and defeated to this political power?
You see, the solution to that is, if I have to state in my own view, if I have to state it's a little bit radical. It's also volatile. It's also maybe dangerous, in quotes, to say in public. I don't want to run into crisis with security, because they may say, why did you say that? Okay, come and tell us what you mean by that. They may not know I'm saying it out of, you understand me?
Yeah, totally agree.
See, these people have taken time to weaken the society, the civil society. They take time to weaken you one by jeopardizing the economy. I will build a company here, I build an industry, they know how to build it, they have the capacity to do these things. They know what, they are not babies now. All of them, for instance, all of those coming out to become governor, none of them is an illiterate. None of them is under-educated. They've traveled out. They have all gone to all parts of the world. They give them 3 years after that, this state will remain the same, if not worse. In terms of economy, you think they don't know what to do? They know. It's what we used to call opportunity cost in economics. If you take the whole money you have, build industries, build roads, construct roads, make education, if not free, at least accessible to the poor, health and others. If you take this amount of money into building the economy, how much will remain for you to travel out anytime you want to go to Dubai? How much will remain to take your family to holidays, summer holidays in England? How much will remain to have plots of land in Abuja, Lagos, Dubai, London. They know these things.
Well, Mr. Paulinus, with all this in view, what is the future of Akwa Ibom State as far as 2023 elections is concerned?
As far as 2023 elections, immediate future, not
immediate future.
Immediate future.
Well, as an optimist, I am very optimistic. I don't want to dwell in the past, you know. If we keep casting or, you know, nursing negative views, we would drag ourselves back. I believe that God, you know, this state is named after God.
Sure.
I believe God has seen our cries. I believe God has witnessed the suffering of the masses. I think it's only the intervention of God. Because for all the people that are coming into, because who are intending to become the governor of the all, I don't think any one of them would have. For now, they have the capacity. For now, they have the intention. They may have the intention, goodwill, like they are now. Most of them have goodwill. But once they are sworn into office, a different spirit takes over them. A different thing. Pressure of work, external influence, internal influence, competitions, priorities of assault. What is very, very interesting to you now, the kind of thing you would want to do now, the dreams you have now would not be the same dream you have 6 months from now. I will build, construct, will run, this road is very bad. But once I get in, I'll make sure I tie the road to what they call it, Spectrum Television. I will do that. But the moment you are sworn into office, you see other roads come up. Those that gave you 20 billion to fund the election will come with their own proposal, what they want from you. Those that gave you 500 boys to fight for you, they will come with their own. Those that gave you 20 hillocks will come with their own. You see, you become.
Well, also, I'll still like to ask this, and you know, other countries, other developing countries had been in this position before now. Countries like Ghana, which are doing much better than Nigeria as it is now. It was a strategic plan. What would you recommend as the strategic blueprint in a long-term process? I know you've said in a short term, as far as 2023 is concerned, is a God factor. We need God at this point, and you know, it's the only state that's named after God. So perhaps we'll have to rely on God for 2023. But going forward, as a long term, to work ourselves through emancipating ourselves from political slavery, what would be your recommendations on that?
Nigeria is a country with fantastic blueprints. Everybody is a perfect political and economic analyst in Nigeria. We can analyze it very, very well. Perfectly well on television and radio. Implementation is always a problem here. Now, when you say blueprints for Akwa Ibom, it is not far-fetched. It's not something you go to the blues and find it. What Obongvi Tota had is blueprints.
I mean, towards emancipating the...
That's what I'm saying. That's where I'm going to.
Okay.
That's where I'm going to. If we take back the blueprints Obongvi had and follow it, it was not followed. It was not implemented. It was truncated. The whole thing collapsed. The science park, the University of Technology, which was tailored towards this science park project. If that thing was implemented, by now it would have gone very far in technological takeoff. If Akwa Ibom State University, as it was intended, as it was envisaged, was implemented and executed the way it was dreamt by Obongwi, by now it would have gone far. So, taking us realizing our economic objective is not far from us. Those things are there. The blueprints are there. The problem is ability to execute, the decision, the opportunity cost, the scale of preference in economics. The preference, the cost of governance is too much. Tell me how the House of Assembly member would, smile home with 50 Ghana must go every two weeks. Commissioner would drag his own this way. Governor would drag his own. Tell me how much will remain for development of the state.
Well, it was nice having you on the show. For time's sake, this is the much we can take on this particular edition of Political Spectrum. And thank you very much, Mr. Paulinus, for coming on the show.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Perhaps look forward for another line of conversation on this. And like I said, this is where we draw the curtains. Thank you for watching. And my name is Otto Basitam.
And of course, I am Frank Cesare. Thanks for being there.
And bye.